Okay, so I hope I'm going to help you figure out how to make some foam pauldrons because I know you can do it. It's really, really easy. It just takes a little bit of time and material, and it's way cheaper than to have somebody commission them for you. So the first part is the foam itself. This is floor matting. Home Depot, Lowe's, sometimes Walmart. It comes in a roll like this. It's a little bit tighter, and I think, I'm not sure, but I think it's like 12 feet square. So you're going to wind up with a sheet that's probably 4 feet long by 2 or 3 feet. They sell it in different lengths. This is the texture on the back. This is the side you're not going to use. This is the texture on the front. And this is the side that you want to use because it's actually a closed cell foam. It's a lot different than an open cell because if you took a heat gun to an open cell, it would just fry it, crisp it. You can actually change the structure of the foam with this. So this is what you need. It's about 20 bucks a roll. I can find you a link if you need to get one. So you start with this and then find pauldron patterns. There is a website called Armor Archive. It's ARMOURARCHIVE.org. They have a ton of patterns they're meant to be used for metal, but I use them for leather and foam, and it works great. So I found one just as an example. This is a pauldron cap. So this is the piece that's going to go right on the top of your shoulder. And what I did was I just printed it out. You may have to adjust it for the size. So if I'm doing something like the Skyrim armor, I'll take this piece and I'll maybe flare it a little bit more, or maybe I'll kind of adjust the top for a point or whatever. You're very creative, so I know you can do that. This is just going to be like the basic build, how to get the structure. So I took this pattern and I cut it out and then I traced it onto my foam. Now the way you get the curves, and this doesn't show up later, but this is a really cool technique, is you can figure out where you want your curves to be and you can cut out little triangles. So I actually cut out a triangular piece from the top of it so that when it's done, it's going to actually form like a bubble, I guess is the best way I can put it, but this is what I have so far. Really, this part just takes some playing around with. This stuff is so cheap, you know, spend a couple of hours playing with it and making shapes. The reason that they use these patterns is because metal actually, so when you use metal, you kind of melt it and reshape it. With foam, we're doing the same thing, but it doesn't take away from the structure itself, so we kind of have to cheat and find those little places to make curves. So we have our foam, and what I'm going to do is use my heat gun on a lower setting. These will burn the shit out of you. If you don't have one, a hairdryer works fine. It just takes longer. So we're going to get up and we're going to melt the foam and see if we can change the structure a bit. And it's really hot. So you just want to kind of get the foam hot. You got to be real careful when you're doing it because you don't want to burn the foam. If you keep the hairdryer on the foam, it will burn it. If you kind of just wait for the top layer to change, you'll see kind of a sheen, and what's happening is you're changing the structure of the foam and you're kind of sealing that top while you get it hot. When it's kind of warm, just flip it over to the back and do the same thing. Now I've got my heat gun on high, but I'm probably 4 or 5 inches from the foam. Like I said, I don't want it to burn, but I want it to get pliable. Alright, so let's check this and see what we got. Alright, so we went from being really rigid to kind of, it's hot, but it's not burning me hot. So now it's going to stay like this for probably 3 or 4 minutes. I didn't get this one really hot. But what you want to do is now you want to take advantage of the fact that it's kind of pliable. If I squeeze it and hold it, it's going to stay like that. So at this point, what I would do would be to super glue it. I just touched myself with the heat gun. That hurt. So you can buy the super glue in multi-packs. I'll probably have to get this hot again because I'm talking, but buy it in the multi-packs. It's really, really cheap. And it's wonderful because it's super glue. So I'm going to get this hot again for just a second because we were talking. So you kind of want to hurry in this stage. You need to figure out where you want your cuts to be before. And like I said, it's just going to take a little experimentation and trying to figure out, you know, what you need. Don't worry about edges. I'm going to go over that with you in a minute, so you don't even have to worry about edges. So I'm going to get this hot again. It's kind of like Wonderflex or Warbla. It just doesn't stay hot as long. You can get it boiling if you want. With a hairdryer, it's going to take you 4 or 5 minutes to get it this hot. With a heat gun, I think this heat gun is like $40. It's well worth the investment because you can do so much with it. And be careful not to break your furniture. I've done that a couple times with my heat gun. So we're just going to get warm again. To where now we're back in that super pliable state. And we're going to take our super glue, if I can get the lid off. Maybe. I might have to heat it again. Because Stephanie uses a lot of super glue. We got it. Okay. Don't super glue your fingers together. I do that all the time. It sucks. Okay. This one might not work. So let's just get another one. Give her a little red ring. Okay, so we're just going to super glue the edge. Super glue on foam is fantastic. It sticks pretty quickly. So I'm going to look like a dummy holding this for about 2 minutes, but it sticks fast, it holds fast, and basically nothing's going to tear it apart unless you just rip it apart, and when you do, chances are you're not going to rip that seam, you're going to rip the foam. This is a pretty heavy duty foam, so you don't have to worry about it ripping. We've made a couple of, Mass Effect, 3 or 4 Mass Effect armors completely out of foam, and a lot of people think it's metal or it's leather, and it's just not. It's a texturing technique. Okay, so that super glue is pretty much set. I'm going to hold it for a minute more because I don't want to drip it all over my table and all over me, because my husband probably wouldn't like that when he comes home. I do enough of that to tablecloths as it is. Just get that nice and hard. So we've kind of already got that curve that we need, and that's just super gluing that edge together. And don't worry about seams like this. X-Acto knives work great. Scissors, don't use your craft scissors. But you can always round those edges later, don't worry about them. Dremel works really, really great on these. Something that, this is just kind of while we're waiting for it to dry to tell you, wood burning tools make really, really great designs. I did, what was it? It was Link from Zelda. And so he had that really nice arm piece that had the little swirls and designs. And I literally went to Michael's and bought like a $10 wood burning tool and just sat here and burned into the foam. If you do that, wear some sort of respirator or mask. Those again are like $10. So you don't really have to spend a lot of money, but if you want to do it a lot, and I kind of think that you could, you are pretty good at it, like I said. So this isn't something that, you know, you do once and put away. So the tools that you buy will help you later. So I'm going to put the super glue away so that I don't super glue my fingers together, because for some reason, like I said, I love to do that. Put that away. And we're going to wipe this off a little bit. Okay, so we've got, right now, this piece is this. Just like that. So we just want to get our shape. And we just go back to heating it again. It's really just a repetitive process with a heat gun, just to get the shape over and over again. So as you kind of do it, you can figure out at what level you can get it hot. You don't want to get it too hot, but you want it hot enough to actually play with it without burning the foam. It's kind of neat too, I'm speeding up this process of the super glue. Okay. I think that's good. We're going to set that down. Again, it's really pliable. So you can do it on your own arm. It's a lot easier if you have a dummy. So if you have something like this, this is the part that kind of sucks. You just stand here and hold it. So once you have your design, you can actually rivet on the sides. Foam is really good with rivets. It'll hold up just fine. You can reinforce it with a piece of leather or a piece of wood. I mean, whatever you want, you can treat it like leather. So this is going to dry eventually into this shape, and I don't have to hold it. Actually, I don't even have to now. So we've got that kind of shape. Now if I wanted more of a curve, I might go back in and just heat the edges a little bit and just kind of curl them on themselves. But I don't want to hit the whole thing because I've already kind of changed the structure. So let's see if I can get like a super, okay, see now it's really hot. It's hot enough that it kind of burns when I hold it, but not any more than Wonderflex. It's certainly not going to leave blisters on your hands. It's just a little uncomfortable. But no pain, no gain, right? Now, if I were trying to hurry through this and I weren't trying to talk you through it, I'd probably go get my hairdryer and set it on cool and just hold it over this to kind of speed up the process while I did this. But we're just going to kind of have the 4x4 hairdryer. So, you see how I changed that just by holding it? And it will hold its structure. If I pull it out, it's just going to go right back. So you can kind of achieve anything you want with foam. Now, the last part of foam that you're going to need to know is that when you get done, you're going to have a lot of nasty edges like this where I put the super glue. You can go in and Dremel it if you want, if you like this texture. But if you want to paint it or do anything to it, you need gesso. This stuff goes a long, long way. It's probably $10 from Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's or any of those stores. They all have it. This is Liquitex brand. I like this one better. They have other ones. They have really huge bottles. And to be honest, what's the stuff they use for paper mache that I have a ton of? Not the starch, but that stuff and the really, it's liquid starch, I think. That would work too, but that kind of, you don't want to use that because that'll just, if you have any kind of hot car incidents, this won't melt in a hot car. Okay, so my GoPro died, of course. I don't know how much of that you got, but just to reiterate what I was saying, use the gesso. What's going to happen is the little foam cells on top that you didn't seal closed with the heat are going to be flat, and you can sand the gesso. You don't have to. We built Voltron entirely out of foam, and I can send you pictures of if you want to look at them, or of course help you in any way you need. But it's been about 10 minutes since the GoPro died, and you can see where I kind of burned it, and it stays. Well, when I say burned, I heated it pretty hot, but without actually burning the foam. So you've got that nice hard edge now that pretty much no matter what I do to it, it's going to stay. So anyway, like I said, with the gesso, the nice thing is that whatever color you want to paint it, it's going to stick. If you put paint straight on the foam, it's going to absorb and lose its color. So always use gesso. It's worth every little bit of it. It's an extra step and it's an extra day. But again, you understand those things and just being a perfectionist like the rest of us. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I don't know if that was helpful. I really hope it was. Treat it just like you would a piece of leather. If you have any questions, just let me know. I do want to show you one thing before I go because I haven't shown this to anybody else. So I'm going to the premiere and I have Ray is completely done. And speaking of foam, I built BB-8. He is remote controlled. We'll see if we can, I don't know if you can see him or not. I want him to fall off my kitchen table. But anyway, have a good night.